Yo, what's going on YouTube? Back with another video. This video is going to be about how to get Archon Shards, all the ways you can get Archon Shards. This is more for the newer players. I'm assuming all the older players already know how to get Archon Shards. But yeah, like I said, more for the newer players. Let's get right onto the video. So we're here in our Helminth room, and then we're going to go ahead and go to Archon Shards. Before I get into how to get Archon Shards, I want to do a little quick explanation of what Archon Shards are and why they're important. Archon Shards are bonuses to either your Warframe or your weapons, and they're pretty significant bonuses that could help a lot depending on how you put Archon Shards on your Warframe. Now Archon Shards can only go on your Warframe and not on weapons, so do be wary of that. But yeah, either way, you can still power up your weapons through these Archon Shards. For example, like this Crimson Archon Shards, 25% melee critical damage. So it's not just Warframe buffs, it can also be used to buff your weapons. Now we have 6 different types of Archon Shards. We have a red, yellow, blue, green, orange, and purple. I do know they have different names, but I can't be bothered to call them by their actual names. So we have a regular version and we have a Tau-Forged version. The regular version has less stats, while the Tau-Forged version has more stats. For example, this one we have 30% maximum energy is filled on spawn. Now if we look at the Tau-Forged, we have 45% maximum energy is filled on spawn. Now regular Archon Shards are pretty easy to get, but I could be wrong here, but I believe all Archon Shards, the way you can get them is all on a weekly basis. So it's like doing weeklies, right? So you do your weeklies, you get your weekly Archons, your Archon Shards from all the places I'm about to mention. And you do have a chance of getting Tau-Forged as well from doing these weeklies. But yeah, Tau-Forged a little bit harder to get, and then later on when you get more of these small ones, you can combine them to make Tau-Forged, but it does require 3 of them. I will go into more details about the Coalescent fusion and Ascent fusion after this segment right here. But yeah, so as an example, now we have our Clervo here. I have 2 green Archon Shards. These are regular ones. I don't need Tau-Forged because all I need is 14 stacks of corrosive. So we get 2 here, max stacks you can get with corrosive is 10, so now we have 14, which equals a full armor strip. All right, very, very good. It is very significant in being able to armor strip even without an armor stripping ability. And then we have 2 purple Archon or Tau-Forged Archon Shards, which gives us 37% melee critical damage when max energy is over 500. The damage boost, it doubles. So our energy is over 500, so this is doubled. So very significant. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go into Coalition Fusion and Ascent Fusion right now. So watching over the first part, I believe I was saying Coalition instead of Coalescent. But yeah, so to unlock Coalescent and Ascent Fusion, you're gonna head over to Sanctum Anatomica over in Deimos, and you're gonna come over here and talk to Bird 3. You're gonna browse his wares, and then it's right here, Helminth Coalescent Segment Blueprint. All right, so starting off with the Coalescent Fusion, you can see right here, you combine 2 of these, and this is for so you can get like orange, purple, and or green. So yeah, so as an example, I'm gonna put yellow here, I'm gonna put blue here, and then you get a green one. You know, I'll go ahead and put on the screen right now all the fusions and what they make. I mean, if you know you're not good with colors, but yeah, this is for combining shards to create a new shard of different color aside from yellow, red, and blue. And then we have Ascent Fusion. Ascent Fusion, this is where you need 3 to make a Tau-Forged version. I don't have 3 small ones sadly, so I can't show it, but yeah, you would put 3 of the small ones down here, and then you'll get a Tau-Forged version. This is, I would recommend to only use this if you have a pretty good amount of small ones and you're not hurting on big ones, because it's better to have something than nothing, if that makes sense. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into how to get Archon Shards. The first way of getting an Archon Shard is through Archon Hunts right here on your star chart, and you go to the top right, Archon Hunt. And then you have a percentage here. Now this percentage goes up every time you get a regular Archon Shard, and then Eventually, you'll get a Tau Forge one. The higher percentage you get is obviously the higher chance of you getting a Tau Forge version. Now, once you get the Tau Forge version, it resets. And if I was bad at explaining that, you could just read it on the left side after hovering over it. Now, for the Archon Hunts, they're going to give you 3 missions. So for this week, it's going to be Rescue, Defense, and then the last one's going to be Showdown. And then if you hover over it, you'll also see the list of rewards. Now, Archon Shards are 100% guaranteed drop. Being a Tau Forge version is not. It goes back to, like I was saying, this percentage goes up every week, every time you get a regular one, and then eventually you'll get a Tau Forge one, and then it resets. We're back here in Sanctum Anatomica, and then we're going to go back to Bird 3, but this time we're going to go through Shiny Treasures. And then you'll have an available Archon Shard that you can purchase with standing, either red, yellow, or blue. Now, you do need to get standing 5 with the Kavia Syndicate, but it is relatively easy to do. It just takes a little bit of time. Not that much time, but a little bit of time. The next way to get an Archon Shard is through your 1999 calendar. Now, there is a chance for you to get a possible Archon Shard as a reward. It is going to be random, but this is a way you can get an Archon Shard. If you don't know how the calendar works, you have 3 months, not real-time months, but whenever you finish a month, then you can move on to the next month. So for the rewards, like for instance, if you want this very last reward, you're going to have to start from here and then go all the way and finish all these missions. So for an example, right here, we have a yellow Archon Shard that we can get. So we finish this 75 container mission, and then we go ahead and we can choose this as a reward. Now, the Archon Shards can be literally every color. So if you do see like a purple, orange, or like a green, you know, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and pick that up. That way, instead of combining 2 Archon Shards, you already can get the one that's already fused together, you know, and instead of wasting 2. So, but yeah, 1999 calendar has some good rewards sometimes. Would highly check them every time the season changes. Now, I forgot to mention something. You are going to have to finish your Whispers in the Walls quest to access Sanctum Anatomica. And then once you have access, you're going to go ahead and get Kavia Standing 5 just to, you know, knock that out of the way. So you have nothing to go back to, and it's just already finished and done and everything is ready to go. But yeah, let's move on to the next way of getting an Archon Shard, which is going to be going to Tagfur and then going to Netracells. Let's go. Now you get 5 pulses every week. It tells you right here when it refreshes. I believe it's every Sunday, but different time zones. So for me, anyways, it's going to be every Sunday. You get 5 pulses. You use 1 pulse to do 1 Netracell, and then when you do a Netracell, you have a chance of getting either a Tau Forge or a regular, or rather all of these rewards. But since you're doing 3 of them, if you want to do 3, then you know you have 3 chances of getting either a regular Archon Shard or a Tau Forge Archon Shard. And the reason why I say 3 is because you have to use 2 pulses to do Archimedea. Now, if you're not ready for Archimedea or Deep Archimedea, then I would just use all your pulses on Netracells. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Netracells. Let's move on to the next one. All right, now we're moving a little bit to the harder way of getting Archon Shards, but regardless, it is a way for you to get Archon Shards. Like I explained in the Netracells segment part of this video, this takes 2 pulses. That's why I recommended doing 3 Netracells and 1 Deep Archimedea or Elite Archimedea, which equals 5 pulses for the week. And then later on, I believe you should be able to do like a Deep, or rather an Elite Archimedea and a Temporal Archimedea and 1 Netracell. I've never actually tried to do that, but I believe it should work like that, where you can do Temporal and Elite, and I'll take 4 pulses, and then you can do 1 Netracell, which would equal 5. But like I said, I don't know if it works like that. I believe it should. Starting off, they're going to give you selections of 3 Warframes, 3 primaries, 3 secondaries, and 3 Zaws. Now, they're always going to give you at least one of the things that you own, or maybe more. Now, for this week, I have Clerval and Araxia, which I own. I'm not going to go through all of them, but yeah, so these are, you know, what I own. And then they're going to give you 4 debuffs, as well as restrictions, so no respawns, no consumables. And the enemy level is 250 to 275. and then this refreshes every week. So every week you can do this. Like I said, with the Archon Shards, most of them are done weekly. So now to unlock Elite Archimedea, you are going to have to tick all these boxes. If you have one not ticked, you're not going to be able to unlock Elite Archimedea. But if you can unlock it, then, you know, awesome. But you do have to be somewhat prepared to do Deep Archimedea. It's just not that bad as Elite Archimedea. Now, after you do that and you unlock Elite Archimedea, the following week after you do Deep Archimedea, then you can do your Elite Archimedea after it resets. And now Elite Archimedea, the difficulty increases by a significant amount. The enemy level is now 375 to 400. Everything else is the same as far as these go, but it's just the enemies are higher level, and which can add difficulty, especially for missions like Mirror Defense, where the thing that you're defending can easily be destroyed by these higher level mobs. So yeah, if you're not ready for Elite Archimedea, you know, you have to be somewhat prepared to do Elite Archimedea. Now, I'm not telling you to have the perfect loadout to do Elite Archimedea, okay? Like, if you have at least one good frame and at least one good weapon, then, you know, perfect. That's all you need. That is all you need. And even better if you have if one of your selections is a survival frame that's really good at surviving, even better. Because if at least you can survive, then there is a chance that someone in your group will carry. No, hold on. Before I get flamed, I just want to say I'm a type of person who knows where I came from. And when I was a beginner and my friends would carry me when I had nothing, it made me feel like doing the same for even like random people. So like, for instance, this week I have Calervo and my Zaw. And my Calervo and my Zaw are well built. They're end game builds, meaning I can carry 3 people, two to 3 people relatively easily, which is because I have Calervo and Zaw, right? Now, if someone comes in with a subpar loadout, me personally, I don't care. Like, I will go ahead and, you know, carry them as much as I can. But I can only do so much if someone continuously dies. For example, if you continuously die, then it makes it harder for someone to actually carry you because they have to do more things because you died. There's no respawn, if that makes sense. They actually, your teammates actually have to come pick you up, and if the timer runs out, then they have to do extra steps to respawn you, right? So now I'm not telling you to, like I said, I'm not telling you to have the perfect loadout, but I'm telling you to not be a complete burden. Okay? So I'm like, yeah. I don't know what I'm promoting here. I'm promoting you to not do this if you're ill prepared, but I'm also promoting if you're somewhat prepared, then you can go ahead and do it, and hopefully someone will carry. Okay? So, I mean, that's my stance on this. I know that a lot of people don't like. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. So now for the rewards, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chances to get an Archon Shard, or sorry, 4 chances to get an Archon Shard or a Tau Forge Archon Shard, and then for the quote-unquote last reward, because I don't count Bosphor as a last reward, because it's only 50 Bosphor, which is completely insanely ass. But for the last reward, it's between a melee arcane and a Tau Forge Archon Shard, rather than, you know, like this, where you have a chance of getting 4 things. This is down to 2. So this Elite Archimedea is a really good way for you to farm Archon Shards, but it can only be done weekly. And yeah. Now, let's say you had a bad loadout for the week. Like, literally every single one is so ass. Like, it's so bad that you can't take it. You know, it happens. It happens. Your RNG is it's shot for the week, and you have nothing to work with. Okay. Now, this is where I would recommend swapping out something you actually have that's really well built For example, like let's say my Calervo and my Orexia weren't built, which they are, but if they weren't built, you could swap it out for like a survival frame, like Revenant or like Nyx, you know? These are just examples. So like I would swap it out for Nyx, now I don't have this ticked. But that's okay because we still get that quote-unquote final reward, which is a Tau-Forged Archon Shard, or a chance of getting a Tau-Forged Archon Shard, right? So another example, let's say your Warframe, let's say you do have a survival frame or a Warframe that you can survive with relatively easily, then that's fine. You can swap out one of your weapons for something you have really well built. So let's say my Toxica and my Za weren't really well built, right? So I'll go ahead and swap out my primary for something I do have built. So, you know, just as an example, like let's say Burst in Prime Incarnon, same thing. You can still get that quote unquote final reward. So do not make it harder on yourself and force it when you have the ability, to bring in something that you have that's actually well built. Okay, and then that's all I want to say for that part. This 50 Phosphor is not worth it, not worth the headache that you're causing yourself and that you're causing your teammates when you can bring something that can actually put in work. All right, now like I said, in Elite Archimedea, mirror defense is going to be the hardest thing, is because these mobs do a pretty good amount of damage to the thing that you're defending. And then survival, exterminate, relatively easy. So this week is pretty easy aside from mirror defense. Now this refreshes every week, like I said, and everything gets refreshed. So all of this, everything. All right. And now we're gonna move on to Temporal Archimedea. I hope I covered everything for Deep Archimedea and Elite Archimedea. Hopefully I didn't miss anything out. If I did, just mention it in the comment, and then hopefully other people will read it. But I believe I covered everything for this. We're gonna move on to Temporal Archimedea, like I said, but majority of Temporal Archimedea is kind of the same as Elite Archimedea, so not much of a yap session on that part. But again, sorry for yapping on this part. I just felt like there's a lot to explain on this. Let's move on to Temporal Archimedea. Now, for the final way to get Archon Shards, which is going to be Temporal Archimedea. Now, for Temporal Archimedea, you are going to have to finish your Hex quest, and you're going to have to be rank 5 with the Hex. And you're going to head over to Protoframe, and then Kaya, and then Temporal Archimedea.
Okay, get your loadout ready, because once you're locked in, I cannot.
I'm gonna wait for her to finish talking.
Going to hell.
Okay. So for Temporal Archimedea, like I said, it's kind of the same thing as Elite Archimedea, with the whole, you know, the Warframe selections and the debuffs and whatnot. There are a few changes, like the rewards. There's more rewards you can get, meaning there's less chances for you to get Archon Shards, but regardless, these are still good rewards, like Arcane, Hotshot, and whatnot, Omniforma. And then, you know, the differences are, it's going to be level 475 to 500 for the Elite. And then for regular, it's going to be 350 to 375. So the difficulty has been ramped up on this. But I'm assuming if you've already unlocked Temporal Archimedea, you should already somewhat either already have good frames and good weapons to do this, or are close to it. Now, the other difference aside from the rewards is the level is going to be these little Peely Pixes, or these stickers. These stickers, they're gonna add a debuff. They're gonna make your missions harder, and each sticker is gonna be for that mission, right? And then you can select up to 3, and then you can get rewards from them. And then the rewards you get from equipping this, the reason why you would want to equip it, if you have the ability to, is because if you browse Kaya's wares, you can use these Pix chips to buy Peely packs, Arcane Hotshot, Arcane Escape, you know, all this stuff right here, Vosper Cash. So, you know, it's up to you if you want to do it or not. If you have a really good loadout, a very strong loadout, then, you know, why not? A few extra debuffs isn't going to be too bad. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, it wasn't going to be a long yap session for Temporal Archimedea. It's pretty much kind of the same with a little added difficulty. And like I said, if you even have this unlocked, then you should already know what you're doing. And that's gonna be it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you found it informative or useful. And if you did, please consider subscribing. We're growing relatively fast, so for everyone that has subbed, thank you so much. Thanks for all the support, and let's keep on going forward. This is your not so serious content creator signing off.